meeting of August 26th to order. Lynette, would you lead us in the flag salute, please? Thank you. Adoption of the agenda.
Madam President, I move that the Carson City School Board of Trustees adopt the agenda as submitted with the exception of agenda item number 10, and that item be removed from the agenda.
Second.
Second by Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Go on without number 10. Moving on to superintendent's report. Mr. Stokes, we'd like to thank you and your staff for putting on such a great event with Jamie Vollmer. I know it was a lot of work, but the excitement was really good and a lot of good feedback.
Thank you, President Wilkie. We have received good feedback and appreciated being part of that. It was a lot of fun and very informative. And really excited to be back at school now. There's great excitement, and it's great to see our students and our teachers, and we have some tremendously high-achieving young people here with us tonight, and we look forward to introducing them to you as part of my report. I'd like to begin by introducing Mrs. Sheila Story, who is our Spirit Squad coach advisor at Carson High School. Mrs. Story. This may be the quietest you ever hear cheerleaders.
That's so true. Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. My name is Sheila Story. I'm the cheer advisor for Carson High School. My daughter, Michaela Story, is a cheer coach, and Astrid Espinoza is also a cheer coach. This year, we have 3 teams. We have our freshman team. We brought back a freshman team after several years. We have a JV team and a varsity team. 11 of them are here tonight to share with you their experience that we had at the UCA cheer camp in June. We did receive several awards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let each captain of each team come up and introduce themselves and tell them what awards they achieved.
My name's Ella Haggerty, and I'm the freshman captain. At camp, we won 2 awards, one for most improved and 1 award in our sideline cheer. It was a really good experience, and I feel like we're really prepared for the new season after going to camp. So, yeah.
Okay. It's like, I'm Kaylin Campos. I'm in the 10th grade, and I'm the JV captain.
I'm Skylar Glock, and I'm also a JV captain, and I'm in 10th grade.
Do you want to introduce yourself, Kaylee?
I'm Kaylee Lambert. I'm also in the 10th grade and one of the 3 JV captains.
We placed various categories for camp. We placed first twice, and then we also placed in second, and we placed in third.
And then also many people on our team got like individual awards. There was one award called Pin It Forward, where a UCA staff member would pick an individual who stood out and give them an award for it. And 2 girls on our team, Kaylin Campos and Paris Regan, got that award. There was also All-American, which was where you could try out for the All-American team. There was 6 girls on each team that tried out, and me and Kaylin and Jordan Lamoureux and Sumner Steele on varsity got that. So that was exciting.
But yeah.
Good evening. I'm Paris Regan, and I'm the varsity captain. Varsity got first place and then got 2 second place in various categories. We received a total of 9 awards at the camp. We made huge improvements throughout this camp. We learned a lot about our squad, and we learned a lot of strengths and weaknesses. We also brought the UCA staff to our home stunt camp in August, about 2 weeks ago, and that also helped us build more skills on our stunting. And we also plan on being a competitive team, and we will be going to 3 competitions this season. So, that's it.
Congratulations, you guys. That's awesome. So we'll be ready to see your performances on the 5th, eh? Okay.
Next, I would like to introduce Jody Ostrander, who is no stranger to this group. And Jody had a tremendous opportunity last school year, and I happened to bump into Jody earlier this month and thought it would really be fun for Jody to come and talk to us a little bit about her experience. So welcome home, Jody.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes, and thank you, Madam President, for having me here today. So as Mr. Stokes had mentioned, I wasn't in the Carson City School District last semester. I was back in Washington, D.C. as a Senate page. Senator Harry Reid had sponsored me to go back there with 30 other students from across the country to attend what we thought would be an easy program, but turned out to be very challenging. Our typical day started at 5 o'clock in the morning with them waking us up. School started at 5:30. And from there, classes could be anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on when the Senate would convene that day, because we had to go in an hour before they came in to set up the chambers. If you did have a 20-minute class, you were still expected to have all the work done that any class, like an English class here in Carson High, would have done in their 90 minutes. So many times we were up till midnight or later doing homework and trying to keep up. We would work about 40 to 60 hours a week in the Senate chambers. One of my new skills, I can tell you what any senator, how they like their water. Senator Reid does not like ice in his water. Working in the Senate chambers, we delivered them their dailies, so like the record from the previous day, any information on legislation that they would be voting on that day, different reports from committees that occurred the day before. We were constantly making copies and doing, anytime the senators vote on a roll call, you have to make copies and you deliver it to 26 different offices on the Capitol grounds, so you learned to do it fast and you would race the other pages because it was fun. One of my favorite things as a Senate page, and I kind of realized how amazing it was this week going back to school, is when the Senate convenes, they start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. And there was just something about saying the Pledge of Allegiance on the Senate floor that got to me every day. And, you know, it's a great day to be an American, I guess, because it was amazing. So at school, I was also elected the student body president of my class and received several honors, including a citizenship award and the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute Award, or Medalist Award for outstanding achievement in science and mathematics. That's pretty much it for school. We did have free time on the weekends where we could explore the city. Washington, D.C. is a beautiful city for anyone who hasn't been there. There's lots of different museums to go to, sites to see, not all on the Washington Mall. One of my favorite museums was the Marine Corps Museum in Quantico, a great museum. And it was an amazing experience. Thank you all so much for your support here back home. I'm glad to be back in my small town for now. And yeah, any questions or?
Joe?
Yeah.
I would just ask your advice for, I guess maybe explain how you got this opportunity, what maybe application process, so that if anybody listening is interested in following in your footsteps, how do they go about applying for this opportunity?
Yeah, so you apply through your senator's office. For the state of Nevada, Senator Harry Reid is the sponsor because it is the majority leader who gets to pick what senators get to have a page, because they do only accept 30 from across the country each semester. So there's 30 right now, and then there'll be 30 the second semester. And then you can also be a summer page, which they only do for June and July because they go on their August recess for a month. And they usually accept, I think in the past there's been 2 or 3 Nevada pages during the summer each session, which you're also not going to school, so it's a little bit easier. And so my application process was a basic application. I know Mr. Stokes wrote me a letter of recommendation, and I believe you needed 3 letters of recommendation. And then there's an essay that you needed to write too. And I know in the past there have been interviews. I personally did not have an interview, but sometimes there are, so.
Okay, Jody, we had this discussion earlier in the evening. What about the universities back there? What is your impression?
Yeah, while I was back there, I went on a college tour of Georgetown University and absolutely loved it. So I am looking at Georgetown right now. It is in a big city, but a lot of the schools that we saw back there in universities, their campuses are a lot more private and out of the city, but just 10 minutes away you get the whole Washington, D.C. experience. So, yeah.
We are so proud of you, Jody, and I am sure you represented Carson City in the highest standards ever. And it's just so exciting to watch you grow and spread your wings and be the way that you allowed to be in our strategic plan and all the good advice you gave us there. It's just been fun to watch you, and I just can't wait to watch you some more and see how it all works out. So thank you so much for coming and letting us know how you did.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you to all of you for the support you guys have provided me over the years and encouragement you have given me to go off and do things like this. So, thank you.
Carrying forward, Madam President, next I'd like to introduce Madeline Carini, and she is a junior at Carson High School. She is here tonight with her mother and also her teacher, Nicole Fagundes, and she had an exciting event that she was part of this summer as well, and you have a book coming around that documents some of her activities, and I'll let Madeline talk next and give some time to Mrs. Fagundes as needed.
I'm just going to introduce Madeline and let you know we were here last spring talking about the National History Day contest. We did go to nationals. There. And Madeline placed 11th in the nation, which, if you've had an opportunity to see the senior exhibits, they are phenomenal, and this is such a huge accomplishment. And so I'm bringing you the bright, shiny blueberries. There's lots of bright, shiny blueberries tonight for the Vollmer reference. She is fantastic, and so here is Madeline.
Hi, I'm Madeline Carini. I am a junior at Carson High School. This summer I had the opportunity to do a senior individual exhibit through National History Day on the rights and responsibilities of John F. Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was given the opportunity to represent Nevada at the American Smithsonian Museum. I was one of 50 kids to present my project to anyone that came in the museum. I also finaled in the whole competition for individual exhibit. I got 11th out of 14 kids in finals, and I was the highest point scorer for Nevada. I would just like to thank you guys for supporting us and supporting the teachers, and I really wish that a bunch of kids could have the same opportunity. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. You know, and you guys were all here. And wasn't this the first year that we've had the history competition? Second year? Okay.
Jake Jones went the year before.
Jake, you're just everywhere. That's awesome. We are so proud of you, and thank you for representing Carson City. And to be in the Smithsonian must have been just incredible.
Thank you so much.
Good luck this year.
Thank you.
We need you to be number one now. You put the standard up here, you're in big trouble, so thank you.
Good.
In chatting with Madeline just before the meeting, she said she probably has 100 hours in that board, so a significant amount of work and effort, and we just want to say to all of our students, keep up the great work. We're proud of you. Thank you for representing us in such a terrific way. So, and teachers and all of our staff who support and coach and offer guidance and assistance. We're very fortunate to have a great staff who look after our students as well. So I'd like to continue and just let you and members of our community know that we have a number of back-to-school meet and greet, open house type events that are the time and dates for those activities are listed on our webpage, and so we encourage you, if you have the time, to go and visit those sites and visit with parents and students as well. I'd like to announce that there will be no school on Monday, September the 1st. That's Labor Day. And I know that's a happy time. To give board members and members of our audience here just a little information about student enrollment. Of course, that's always an important event because we receive our funding based on the number of students that we have attending our schools. As of today, our numbers are 7,595 students, which, when compared to last year's count day, we are 70 students more than our count day last year, and so we hope that that trend continues. We expect that it will. It looks like that just in watching the numbers over time have really settled and fairly predictable from day to day. So we believe that especially after Labor Day, we'll have a really clear idea of the number of students that we'll have enrolled in our school. I'd like to announce that tomorrow evening, August the 27th, starting at 6 p.m. in the Carson High School Library will be our first community PLC. PLC is education talk for professional learning community, and this is a great opportunity to rub shoulders with staff members and also citizens as we work towards implementing aspects of our strategic plan. And it's a great opportunity, and I'd like to invite board members and really anybody who's interested to attend that meeting. I'd also like to let you know that Monday, September the 8th, is an early release day for all of our students. And for your information, students will be dismissed at the following times. Students at Pioneer High School, 12:50 p.m. Students at Carson High School, 1 p.m. The middle schools will release their students at 1:10 p.m. and our elementary schools will dismiss students at 1:50 p.m. Madam President, that's my report. Welcome back to school. It's a great time.
Thank you. Go on to board reports. Carson High with Jake Jones. Welcome back.
Thank you. At Carson High School, the year's begun, obviously, and it has begun, and people are stressed already. It's great. Back to school, right? Sports are in full swing. Practice has been going on since the first day of school. And we have our first matches and games this week. Boys tennis and girls tennis play Spanish Springs this Thursday at 3 p.m. Cross country has a meet at Shadow Mountain in Sparks at 6 p.m. And then girls soccer has a game at home against an opponent to be announced at 6 p.m. Saturday, we have our first varsity football game, and if anyone wants to go down to Del Oro High School in California, they're playing Clayton Valley. As Mr. Stokes said, Monday is Labor Day, so we get that day off, get to relax. Tuesday, we have tennis, boys and girls at DeMonte Ranch High School, and there's girls golf, the first golf match of the year at Wolf Run Golf Club at noon. It's up in Reno. Wednesday, September 3rd, is the Carson High School Open House. That's at 6 p.m. Thursday, September 4th, tennis versus Worcester for boys and girls tennis at 3 p.m. There's cross country on Friday, September 5th at Lampe Park at 3 p.m. And then the first home varsity football game against McQueen at 7 p.m. And then after the football game, there will be a Skills USA fundraiser. It's a dance in Senator Square, and that will start after the football game, and it will go until about 10:30. Saturday the 6th is varsity soccer at Reno High School. Boys are at 11 p.m. or a.m. and girls are at 1 p.m. And then back to Friday, September 5th, sorry about that, there's senior sunrise. That's kind of important for my school year this year. 6 a.m. on the football field, so there will be food, so seniors should definitely come to that. Monday the 8th is the club fair, 8th and 9th actually, Monday and Tuesday. It's where all the clubs from our high school, they go into our small gym, they have booths and handouts, and the freshmen will be touring those booths during their transition classes. And it's just a great way to get the clubs advertised and the students to get interested and involved in those clubs. And then Tuesday, September 9th is a tennis match versus Douglas High School at 3 p.m. There's varsity volleyball versus Reno at 6 p.m. And then there's varsity girls soccer at Reed at 7 p.m. that night. And that concludes my report for Carson High School.
Thank you, Jake. Candace? Steve?
I'm not seeing anyone here from Pioneer, so I just want to share something. The summer construction project for the new office building, which hasn't begun yet, but the secured entrance fencing and all, the changes look pretty neat over there. And I think it's a much better controlled environment, and I'm really impressed with the work that's gone on there. The other thing that I wanted to share, Madeline, your report on the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's probably not many people in this room right now who remember, but I remember back in the early 60s we had to practice, as students we had to practice bomb, where we would go in the basements. We practiced bomb shelter drills, much like you practice fire drills today. It was a very interesting and worrisome time back then, as you probably discovered. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Steve. Lynette?
I just wanted to thank the staff at Carson High and the Link crew for the freshman orientation. The Link crew did an awesome job making the freshmen feel welcome, and the staff did a great job with the parent university. It definitely put my mind at ease about my daughter going into high school. She's not nervous at all, but I was quite nervous, so I was really impressed with the presentation. Also, do want to put a shout out to Sheila's story. I was so apprehensive about Alexa doing this whole cheerleading thing, and it's really been a very positive experience. And so thank you to you and Michaela. You're doing a great job. And then lastly, Food for Thought has a new executive director. Her name is Marlene Maffey, and she brings lots of new energy. I think that she's going to make some really positive changes. We're hoping to increase our backpack program in the schools. We certainly won't be as big as we were at one point. We just can't financially sustain that, but we would like to make some increases. So she's going to be having an open house for teachers, so I will keep you abreast of that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Laurel?
Yes. For Fritch Elementary School, last Wednesday's kindergarten back-to-school night was well-attended and very informative. This Friday, August 29th through September 10th is the book fair in the library. And then September 2nd, Tuesday, September 2nd, is the ice cream social and back-to-school night for the specials, music, PE, computers, and library, and the book fair will be open. And also on Wednesday, September 3rd is back-to-school night for grades 1 through 3, 6 to 7:30. And on Thursday, the 4th, it's back-to-school for grades 4 and 5 from 6 to 7:30. Of course, the books, you can always visit the book fair when you go to that, too. And Monday, September 8th at 6 p.m. in the library is the first PTA meeting. And that concludes.
Thank you. Joe?
Just a couple quick comments. For Carson High School, Skills USA is, they're having a meeting tomorrow, lunch in the culinary kitchen, culinary restaurant. So anybody interested in getting involved is encouraged to attend. And maybe, Jake, you could help me out, but I had a note, Key Club meeting was Tuesday at lunch. Was that today or next week? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
So if it was today, never mind. But if you're interested and it's next Tuesday, please attend. But that would be room, if it hasn't happened already, room 256 at lunch. Anyone interested in Rotary Youth Exchange? There's a meeting September 4th in the Carson High School Library at lunch, or you can see Mrs. Chambers for some more information about that. And then just briefly, since I'm involved with cross country at the high school, we had 46 kids show up to the first practice, which was a fantastic number.
That's awesome.
So it's encouraging to see so many kids get involved in so many activities at the high school. Yeah. And I was just going to pass on, my son just started college, and he mentioned that his senior year experiences and getting so involved in everything, he felt like going to college and seeing all these clubs and everything. It just started, but it wasn't quite as overwhelming as he said it maybe could have been. And so I guess the point there is, if you're interested, get involved in high school, and it creates a nice, smooth pathway into college, and it winds up not being such an intimidating experience. And then Carson Middle School, just my daughter came home with her laptop, so the mobile one-to-one technology is off and running, and I signed all the paperwork, and the kids all have their laptops, so here we go. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ron.
Yes, Madam President, board members, I'd like to just give it a little different perspective. And this has to do with NNDA and a follow-up to the Board of Supervisors meeting of how, we work together. Well, Richard, Ben Contine, Michelle Lewis, and I are on the Workforce Education Committee for NNDA. That committee is having a summit meeting September 23rd at WNC, of which all of the regional players are going to be part of this, which would be will be employers as well as other K-12, representatives. But the whole part of this, and as pointed out to the Board of Supes, and what Rob Hooper said, we're doing a lot of good things here in Carson City, but nobody other than ourselves know about it. And it's that communication of how do we get it out, both for Carson City, but regionally? How do we get this out to tell what makes our community different? Why would businesses want to locate, relocate, or expand here? And we have so many good things with the Carson City School District and our connection with WNC, UNR, and beyond. Jody's a great example of that. But we also have something that is pretty unique. And most of us read Sunday's paper, and that headlines on the front page that Carson AP students exceed state and national performance.
That was awesome. It was good.
Now, let's combine this with what Candace and, this communication plan. That shouldn't be just a one and out. That's something that should be the people, what I've talked to in California and across this country, they need to know about this 24/7. I went right to our website thinking it might have been on there. That's something we've got to link. That I'll be bringing up with at the Workforce Education Summit. Those kind of things need to be told. And we need to start with linking it not only with our school, but with NNDA and with the chamber. That kind of thing is unbelievable, especially the way that story was written. It was told by teachers and students. And what that impact of this AP program has. And I'm telling you, the businesses and other professionals are looking for their family. Why would they want to move to Carson City? Here's a perfect example that we need to tell this story over and over again. Okay, with that, and I would like to thank Richard for bringing Jamie Vollmer. That was unbelievable, and the response I've gotten is just, it was so badly needed at the time. And Richard, thank you for taking the time to make that happen.
Yeah, it was awesome to have every single teacher in the district there. That was quite the thing to see. I don't have anything for Nevada Association of School Boards except that let Renee know if you're going to the conference, but I will send a draft of what the conference is going to have if you're teetering on the schedule. And then we'll move on to number 5, association reports. Welcome back, Mr. Wallace. Summer probably wasn't as busy as last summer. Did you get to relax this summer?
Kinda. Brian Wallace, OCA president. Thank you, Madam President, Mr. Stokes, staff. It was really good. I snuck away to British Columbia and did a 7-day mountain bike race. So definitely not as busy as last summer with everything we managed to fit in, just the two of us, my wife and I. But just to echo what everyone has already said, it was really great to start the school year off the way we did, to have every single teacher within the district really come together. You know, the greatest thing about this district is people do shift, but they never kind of let go of one another. You're never really divided, even though we may not like CMS sometimes at Eagle Valley. You know, we got to keep that rivalry up, and, you know, some move up to Carson High and the grass is greener for them. They always come back. You always talk. You always go back to, you know, they started at Eagle Valley, so they still remember Eagle Valley. The ones who shift down to elementary always boggle my mind because it scares the daylights out of someone like me because they cry on me. But it's just, Mr. Jones. But it's great because Mr. Vollmer's message was so wonderful. And knowing everything that's going on out there in education right now, and that teachers, depending upon where you're at, seem to be public enemy number one, that we're not in Carson City, that the community's behind us, we have this strategic plan, that we're working together. We have the community PLC tomorrow night where, you know, all the parties are involved, all those stakeholders and et cetera, knowing we can sit down, help each other out, see what we can do for the children of Carson City, and that we don't have any real animosity. Not to pick on our neighbors to the north, but knowing I can stand forth and talk to each and single one, every one of you, that we see you out there, you come out and visit, knowing that everyone on staff from the district office down up through the school board is completely approachable, just continues to speak to what we're doing here in the district. And as some of you have mentioned, now if we can convince them, Mr. Swarzik, others, that this is the place to come to, this is the place to come work, it would help Mr. Delphin out tremendously right now with some of that. As we went through the summer beating bushes, trying to find math teachers and others, that we're doing it. It's getting done right. It's a partnership. There is none of that animosity, and hopefully people begin to realize more and more, and they want to come here and work for us. And it's going to be another great school year. Look forward to working with every single one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. It's true. You know, when you go around the state or even when you go in the nation, when you say you get along with your teachers union, they're like, why and what and how? And it's like, because we all put the children first and we don't have the egos that go with it. So I feel very blessed to be here. Any other association reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. This is a time for members of the public that can come and talk about anything that's not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes, and please state your name for the record.
Hi. Thank you, Madam President. Jody Ostrander, senior at Carson High School. I forgot one thing to compliment you all about when I was back in Washington, D.C., and maybe that's why my mom told me to write down on a note card, but I didn't. So anyway, while I was back there, because I was Senator Reed's page, I got to know a lot of his staffers, and I got to meet with his chief of staff one day. And once he found out that I was from Carson City and I was in the Carson City School District, he made a comment about how he was here doing a tour of something and how, since we've implemented the new strategic plan and Race to the Top grants, and how well our school district is coming together and how the community involvement is influencing the school district. And he was really proud to call Carson City School District part of Nevada and was looking to implement it in other school districts too. So they are noticing what everyone's doing here. So I just forgot to share that and wanted to. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, we can all pat ourselves on the back now. All together now? Okay, sorry. Moving on to number 7. Informational update on the pre-K program in the Carson City School District for discussion only. Mrs. Dockery.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I'm Valerie Dockery, Director of Grants and Special Projects. And tonight I'm going to be sharing with you some information on our present pre-kindergarten programs in our district. And I wanted to start out with just talking just very briefly about research. Because research does indicate, as most of us know from working in our schools and with our own children at home, that early experiences impact the formation of learning pathways that influence language, cognitive, and social skill mastery. So lots of research out there that tells us that students begin learning right as soon as they're born and continue learning in those first 5 years are essential. There's clear evidence that high-quality preschool programs benefit young children's development both concurrently and in the future, and we're going to share with you some longitudinal data from our district at the end of this presentation. So not only does it help them when they start school, it continues to help them as they continue through school. The achievement gap that exists between children coming from families with low and middle to high incomes can be seen as early as 18 months. And that's, again, a reason why we need to start early. And finally, in 2013, Nevada ranked 29th in the annual Child Care Aware Report on the state of child care across the U.S. Yeah. But not wanting to go off on a negative note, and research is great, I invited one of our preschool teachers, pre-kindergarten teachers, and also a parent to speak tonight. I don't believe our parent is here, but Mrs. Paula Baum is here tonight. She has been with our state pre-K program since its inception, I believe, in 2001, and she's going to come up and talk to you about what pre-kindergarten's really like. Come on up.
You want to come to Rose?
Yes, come on up.
Okay. I think I've seen everybody. I'm Paula Baum. I've been teaching pre-K at Mark Twain for 13 years since it started. And Rose Etchison is my assistant, and she's also been there 13 years. We're really married.
We are.
Well, it's called Curiosity Corner, and it's part of Success for All, which is the reading program that all the elementary schools use in Carson City. And so Curiosity Corner is the 4-year-old section. It's geared for children 1 year before they enter kindergarten. And of course, we do try to get the neediest children, the children that need to learn English, the children that have big problems in their lives. And we reach the whole child. We certainly work on language skills because our grant is based on language. They take a language test in the fall, again in the spring, and that's where our grant funding comes from, mostly from seeing that growth in language. But of course we work on math, we work on science, we work on social studies, we work on getting along together, we do art, we have a good time. We reach the whole child and we make it fun. Our themes are, we teach through themes. Each week we have a new theme so that all of our math activities are based on the theme, our science, our art, our dramatic play. And so that language, that thematic language is heard again and again throughout the week, and the children learn to use it and apply it in different settings. And Curiosity, she comes every day and she has something, a question or something in her little house that will make us wonder, what are we going to learn today? And so that's how we start our day. And then we move into a lot of free time where the children move from lab to lab or center to center. And it's a lot of fun because we work so hard before the children enter the door. We think about what each child needs and how are we going to get this boy to participate and grow in this area that he needs so much. So it's a pre-planned environment that just looks like a lot of fun. And if we are planned, we have fun, and the children grow tremendously. And I'm sorry my parent didn't come. but I guess she chickened out. Or maybe she thought like me, I went to the parking lot and there were no cars. And we asked the custodian, is the meeting really here tonight? Do you have any questions?
Ron?
For me or curiosity?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You've been there 13 years. How many kids have you had to turn away because you didn't have enough capacity?
Well, up to this last year, we've turned away nearly 40 a year. But
Okay,
then this
and-
year, we've added a second class at our school, and now there are 6 pre-K classes throughout the town.
But what you said, there's some qualifications as to the students that can even participate. It's restricted. And I think what you just described is so important. And I think what Valerie described is so important for every student. And I don't know, you probably read our strategic plan where we've got to make this available for every child. Otherwise, year after year, semester after semester, kids get left behind.
And you need models in there. You need children that have some social skills and some higher academic skills to bring the others along. And no matter what children we've had, we found they all had needs. Whether they spoke English or several languages or had all these economic advantages, they had some social needs or they had some kind of needs that we found we could meet. I don't think there's a child that did not grow.
Okay. But let me go back. When you said you've, up to this time, 13 years, you've had to turn away 40 a year. And probably those 40 met the qualifications to even get in, right?
It varied because our school is a lower SES.
Yeah.
But there are people that earn decent livings too.
But 40, I mean,
it's a lot of
we're
kids.
what, 600 kids now that didn't have the advantage of what you just demonstrated. And how sad that is.
It is.
Okay, and you're just one school. But anyway, thank you for your presentation, and I hope you're around because as this discussion goes on, maybe asking you more questions.
Okay. And we had 2 children cry this morning because they did not want to go home.
I-
They were sad
I-
that they had to leave, that it was time to go.
I believe it.
It was our first day.
We were blessed enough to have Mrs. Baum as a kindergarten teacher, and then I always thought it was my daughter that kicked her down to preschool because it was the last year. So I'm really glad to hear. But if you've never sat, and I can't imagine because it's been 12 years since I sat in your pre-K class, but the excitement and the involvement of these two is just outstanding. And I think we may have a pre-K program, but you two are just totally outstanding in it and make the program. So thank you for all your hard work. We do appreciate it. And Valerie, that kind of gets me to that question. We've had this for 13 years at this one school. Do we have any data that's followed any of these kids? I know Mrs. Baum follows.
What a great
the disease.
segue,
Oh, good.
President Wilkie. Here we go. I want to talk about where the pre-Ks are in the district. And I'm not going to really be talking particularly about this one tonight, but it would be remiss if I didn't include pre-K that's been at Student Support Services for many, many, many years. 3 pre-K classrooms that serve students with special needs only, run by out of Mrs. Albertson's area in Student Support Services, 3- and 4-year-olds. And the district does receive, according to Mr. Fueling, 0.6 on the DSA for that program and that pre-K program only. It is the only DSA-funded pre-K in the state, okay? Then we have what's called the Nevada State Pre-Kindergarten Education Program, or PEP. That is the program that Mrs. Baum works under. This is a competitive grant each biennium, and I actually wrote the first one back in 2001 when I was the grants coordinator. So it really is rewarding for me to see this program still here. The funding, unfortunately, has stayed the same since 2008 and 2009. $266,000 that has to fund the salary for 2 teachers and 2 paraprofessionals. One site is at Mark Twain and the other site is at Empire. Originally, we had 2 paraprofessionals in each of these grants, but we could no longer afford that. And this year, we have to supplement that with Title I to meet all the salary needs within this project. So the project itself does not pay for itself. 2 classes at Mark Twain, 20 and 20. The ratios that the state allows are 20 students to 2 adults, hence the teacher and the paraprofessional. And same thing at Empire, where we also have wonderful teacher who has been there for, probably almost as long as Mrs. Baum, who's been there a while. In the state, we refer to this as state pre-K. Okay. Then, 2 years ago, in the last legislative session with Senate Bill 504, we were able to expand pre-K. Now, Senate Bill 504 allows you to not just do pre-K with that money. Other districts are doing other things. Some are doing pre-kindergarten, some are doing other programs for second language learners. But the law, it says, is the intent of the legislature that children who are limited English proficient be provided with services and instruction which is designed so that those children attain proficiency in English. So in this project, we have $390,000 per pupil for this biennium only. We're in the second year of the biennium. We have when we got this money last year, and speaking with Mr. Stokes and Mrs. Kima, we were trying to figure out where we could house pre-K, where it would have the biggest impact on ELL students. This was at the same time that we were rolling out full-day kindergarten. There is a space issue. Fortunately, in our highest need schools, Mark Twain, Empire, and Bordewick, we were able to find space. At Bordewick, that space is at support services. So we added 2 classes with a teacher and an aide at Mark Twain. We added 2 more classes at Empire with an additional teacher and an aide, paraprofessional. And then at Bordewick, we housed it at special services, and we have a different staffing configuration. You'll notice there that the we have a 50 student max there, 25 per class, because we have 2 full-time teachers in that classroom, a special education teacher and a regular education teacher, and a special ed paraprofessional and a regular ed paraprofessional working in this program. It's kind of a model. So that one's just a little bit different, and it's a great partnership with special services. So that was the expansion that we were able to do. This grant, again, focuses on second language learners. To answer your question, there are other students in those pre-kindergarten classrooms. The other project, the state pre-K, ELL students are a priority, followed by students who have low-income families, and then students with special needs. So all of these projects, all of these pre-Ks are funded with money that has very special criteria attached to them. Staffing, as I alluded to before, 6 teachers. All are highly qualified, all have an ECE endorsement. This was not easy. It took us till January of this year, to fully staff this program expansion. We didn't get up and running with those additional pre-Ks till January of 14 because we had such a hard time finding teachers with this endorsement, because in Nevada there's not that many jobs for licensed pre-K teachers. TESOL endorsement is preferred. I think 2 of our 6 have the endorsement right now, and others are working on the endorsement. So the 2 that we actually hired new into SB 504, 2 of the 4 already had their endorsement when they came to us. 6 highly qualified paraprofessionals meet the letter of the law in terms of that. At least 3 of them are bilingual. Bordewick Bray, again, as I said before, we have a regular ed and a special ed teacher working together, and a special ed parapro. Students served. This year, we served a total, under SB 504, we served 91 students. 47 of them were ELL. We are below the 75% we're supposed to have. Unfortunately, we got a very late start, and it was difficult in recruiting, but we still had 91 kids in the seat. Number of adults, 96, because we have, I'm going to talk about the parent component because there's a parent component to this. Had a few more adults, because we had several members of families involved, and 91 families. On the state pre-K, 76. Again, remember, there's only 4 classes there, so it's less students. Our max would be 80, so we had 76. And we had 110 parents, and again, 76 families involved. Curriculum, as Mrs. Baum said earlier, Curiosity Corner, Success for All. Nevada early childhood standards are also part of that curriculum, aligned with our Common Core. Preparation for kindergarten, so we're talking with kindergarten, we're making sure we're preparing those children. And we're emphasizing language skills for second language learners. As Mrs. Baum said, lots of language activity going on. Parent involvement. When you sign up your child for a pre-K program in the Carson City School District, you have to agree to do certain things. You don't just leave your child, drop them off and pick them up in 2.5 hours. You have to sign a parent compact. You have to set parenting goals. You have to agree to a home visit at the beginning of the year. Teacher comes out to your home, sometimes with a Spanish-speaking paraprofessional. Or this year, Mrs. Markison, who speaks Spanish, did her own home visits on her own. And at those home visits, we go over all the activities we're doing in the programs and what our expectations are for parents. Parents, as I said before, they set goals for the year. They agree to spend parent and child time together, and they record that time. They attend parenting classes, and some of them are involved in English language instruction, if that's part of their goals. So it's really, as we said before, the whole child and the whole family that we're serving. And these are all requirements under the state pre-K. They are not necessarily requirements under Senate Bill 504, but when we wrote that project, we mirrored those goals and brought them over into 504. So if you were to see a 504 pre-K in another district, it may not look like ours, but we duplicated the same model because we were so successful with it that that's what we're doing under SB 504. Statewide evaluations. We give several different assessments. We give the WIDA models test. It's a pre and post assessment for listening and speaking. So all of our students who are identified through the home language survey as speaking English as their second language are given the WIDA pre and post test, as our kindergartners are and our other students are given parts of those as they go through school. We also give the Peabody picture vocabulary test. Again, this is receptive language, what students hear. We give the expressive one-word picture vocabulary test, the EOWPVT, pre and post, and this is what students can say based on pictures. We also do something called the Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale to rate our programs, our environment that our students are in. And we use the ELCA, which is an early language and literacy observation tool, again, to assess, almost like a T4S would be, in assessing what's going on in an early childhood classroom. And again, these are all part of, actually came out of the state pre-K evaluation. And here's some results. We do not have results for 13-14 for the state pre-K. And the reason is that when the money was brought forward in the last biennium, the legislature did not fund the evaluation piece. I know. In the first year of the biennium, they funded it in the second year. So Dr. Leitner, who has done this evaluation since 2001, will be back in this year, and we're thrilled because he helps us collect the data, and he gives us really, we're able to use the data that he gives us. So he will be back this year, but the data that I have to share tonight is from 12-13. So, in the statewide evaluation, and you have a copy of the summary of that in your packet, and within that summary is the Carson City School District results. You can go online at Department of Ed and see the entire report for the state. In the statewide evaluation, we look at reading readiness, individual student gains. On the Peabody Picture Vocabulary Test, we're looking for an 80% individual student gain between the pre-test and the post. Students have to be in the program 4 months to take the post. The state gain is 80%. Look at Carson City, 92.2. Way above the state outcome goal. Expressive comprehension, the goal is 90%. We're at 97.35. Obviously, we met the goal. Reading readiness, average project gain. So this is looking at the project as a whole, and this would be, again, the class, Paula's classroom, Mrs. Baum's classroom, and the classroom at Empire, just those two classes. PPVT vocabulary, 8 points should be the average gain. Ours was double that, 16.5. Expressive comprehension, the average gain should be 10 points. We're at 14.9. Reading readiness, average project gain on the pre-loss. Now the pre-loss has now been replaced with the WIDA, but before we were using the pre-loss, we should have had a 20-point gain. Look at that, 54 points. So we are really targeting those second language learners and doing a great job with them. There's also goals around parents for the individual parents. We set a goal of 92% for the state of meeting their goals. Our project, 97.5. Increasing time spent with children. Statewide goal is 80%. We're at 95.2. And increasing your time that you spend with your child, the state goal is 80%. We're at 95.2. So we really more than met. We exceeded the state. And our teachers have done this with their children and their parents every single year that we've had this evaluation. They've just done a great job in bringing those kids along, and it really shows when they get up to kindergarten and as they continue through school. And this is what's really nice about the state pre-K. There's so much data behind it, but this program only reaches 1.7% of the 4-year-olds in Nevada. So results for the SB 504, we don't have as much data here. We only have 18 students in our group because they started late and we needed to have them for 4 months before we could give the pre and the post. And the state does not compile a report. They don't have an evaluator on site the way we do with the other programs. So I only have the WIDA results to share with you tonight. The WIDA that we give, the models test, it's a listening and speaking is the only parts of that we give to our pre-Kers. And so you can see where our pre-listening score is just under 1.5 and our post-listening score at 3.5. And I am not an expert on the WIDA, but those are the levels of language acquisition from beginning, emergent, and so on, okay, all the way up. And then the pre-speaking, again, at 1.5 was the pre-test, and the post at almost 3. So we only had those students for 4 months. Just think what we're going to do this year when we have them the whole year. So that's really exciting, and obviously we're going to have way more than 18. So we really are making some gains, and even in a short period of time. State pre-K longitudinal results. Again, with the state project, not only did they evaluate the students every year, but they followed them through 3rd grade. And when our parents sign on to this project, they agree to have their child reassessed as part of this project. So students that were 4 in 2008 or 9 were assessed again in 12-13 using the PPVT and the EOW-PPD, the same tests. The students achieved significant learning gains when they were in preschool, so this group did very well in preschool. And the ELL students in this cohort made additional gains that were above the expectations in receptive and expression language, basically what our results were locally. And then even more, this is really exciting, this cohort scored higher than a matched group of non-pre-K students on the Nevada CRT in reading and math. So, this program really does pay for itself in the long run. Next steps, we want to complete a full year of programming for both of our projects. We want to implement SFA Curiosity Corner data tools. There's new tools that we have at our disposal this year that we're going to be working on, and that we can share progress reports out of that system with parents, for instance. We're going to have HQ, high quality sheltered instruction training for all our pre-K teachers, whether they're TESOL endorsed or not. We're going to keep encouraging that TESOL endorsement. And we're going to combine our evaluation data for both projects together this year. And we're going to support pre-K expansion if that is what comes down the road, because of course we're preaching to the choir. We love pre-K. We want to see more pre-K. But this is what we have in the district at this time that we are able to fund. Questions?
Any questions, Lynette?
Well, first of all, just a comment. I mean, this is such a great thing. When I was getting ready for the board meeting, I was just looking up, I think pre-K is important, but why is it important? And there's like a million studies from like the Center of Public Education on a kid that does pre-K education is a more powerful predictor of that child doing well in pre-reading and pre-writing than race, than economic stature, than anything else. And so it is such a really important program. My question is, we still have in Carson City, we have this problem with the achievement gap. So when we look at our high school students, there's still this big achievement gap. So is there a way for us to take those kids that are in the pre-K programs and follow them through high school just to get more information instead of just stopping at third grade, seeing if, because when you look at this, it seems like, why do we have such a problem with the achievement gap?
Well, there's many other factors that affect student success in school, obviously, but we certainly can track those students, and Dr. Medina can help us with that. And again, it's a small group too, when you compare it to the larger cohort. And attrition as those kids drop off or maybe aren't with us all the way through, but we can still certainly track the ones that are and bring you that information.
Ron?
No, Steve.
Oh, Steve, sorry.
Valerie, what's the projection on funding into the future? Any feeling on that?
Well,
are they going to try and spread limited money over more counties, or?
Well, we're very hopeful going into this next session. Mr. Stokes, Mrs. Keem, and I attended the governor's symposium on 0 to 3 education, and the governor is really one of his pieces that he really wants to see brought forward. He's already spoken publicly about fully funding kindergarten. Pre-K wasn't particularly in that conversation necessarily, but he did share the data on the state pre-K with that group that was at that symposium. And so we know it's on the radar. I think it is just a question of how much money there is. I'm hopeful that down the road that we can start raising maybe some of our own funds to do this and move forward as well. We can't always depend on our state monies all the time and grants, and so we're hoping that down the line we can start developing some funding sources if it's important to our community, and we're looking at that as well as we go forward. But we don't know right now what's going to happen in the session. We just don't know, but it's definitely much more on the radar than it's ever been before. We have a governor and a first lady that have this as a priority. They've completely reorganized the Nevada Department of Education, has an entire department now focused on early childhood education, and they are writing, I believe it's not Race to the Top, it's another grant for pre-K that SEA, State Education Associations, can apply for. So they are writing that grant right now as we speak to also try to bring in some federal money that then will be divvied up to state, to local education agencies.
How are the programs different in Clark and Washoe so that they're not included on the reports here? Or are they just so massive that it
they
doesn't
used
compare?
their money, I think, in a different way. Was it the focus schools, Mrs. Kima?
They had put together Zoom schools. They were required to do so.
Yes, they were required to use that money in a different way by the legislature.
Candace?
So you mentioned local funding. Any ideas on the table?
We're kicking some things around that hopefully we can bring forth later on. But it's difficult. It's not easy. It's not easy to find money, but we're going to keep trying to do that. But right now, it's we want to see what the legislature is going to do first, and then go from there.
Ron?
All right, Valerie. What you presented makes perfect sense. We're going to go back to the data and the research. It's all there. I think as a board and the community, when we came together with a strategic plan to say there may not be funding, and that's why in strategy 4.2.4, it talked about through community partnerships. The community was willing to help with teachers, with the learning centers, if we need, the library, the Boys and Girls Club, there's space that is available, and there's expertise that is available. What I'd like to see as a board member to say, you've done a great job, use these as models to say, what do you need? And do it within the next 3 or 4 weeks. What do we need to go out and get community partners to come in and to help all the kids? Because we use the word every student and every child. And what was presented by the two from Mark Twain over the years, we're turning kids.
Yes, we are.
Why? With all the data and with the community willing to help, would you just bring back to the board what it would take? And let's see if we can't just find out and make this happen for every kid.
And I think, we can certainly put a plan together. I think we have to always be, there are lots of regulations that go around preschool and pre-kindergarten classes. And this licensing for the teachers, the space requirements, all of those things. Preschools, pre-kindergartens that operate in a school district environment operate very differently than those out in the private sector. So we have to really look at, we have to make some decisions. Do we want licensed teachers in those classrooms? Do we want, each of those has to have a playground. They have to have a certain ratio. They have to have all kinds of things that have to go into that raises that price tag really high. The other thing that we have found that is if preschool is not in the school where children are going, we don't get as much attendance. Because one of the things we're trying to do is get them involved in school, and that starts in pre-K. So we can certainly explore all those options, but even that kind of space is limited within our community. And we can find more space, but it may not necessarily be the space that we want.
And you bring up those concerns, and on page 19 of the strategic plan, we have all of the barriers that might be there.
Mm-hmm.
Just go through that checklist and say, okay, this is a barrier, and then we'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find a way to get to these kids, and that's what's important. And it's got to start somewhere. So if you could bring that forward, and I think as board members, we'd be willing to help to contact or engage the community, to make this happen. Our kids are too valuable to let them go by saying that we're waiting for the state for funding or some other source of funding.
Well, again, I'm not the sole person responsible for pre-K in the Carson City School District, so I will talk
Valerie,
with those people that I work with about those things.
Your point right now. No, but Richard is here, Jose, yes. Sue, you got Ricky Medina. We've got a lot of people that can bring this together, and we got a lot of community members that will jump in. So let's just get a plan started. It doesn't have to be perfect, but can we get it started so that we can get to these kids and not let any more slip through the cracks?
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to just reiterate what Lynette said. Now that we've had this going on for 13 or 12 years in other schools, it would be nice to see, and we know the attrition and people leave, but it would be kind of nice to see where it goes from, if it made any difference. So
well, and
if it's easy, great. If it's hard.
On a typical year, 40 students going forward each year. So not huge cohort numbers, but some kids that we can look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Valerie.
Going on to number 8, informational update on the proposed installation of a 125 kilowatt photovoltaic array system at Mark Twain Elementary. Mr. Kornick, welcome.
Thank you, Madam President, trustees, executive staff. Mark Kornick, Director of Operations Services, for the record. I'm here tonight to tell you a little bit about our participation in NV Energy's Lower Income Solar Energy Pilot Program. And changes were made to the Solar Energy Systems Incentive Program through AB 428, which said a lot of things about alternative energy and wind and solar and stuff. But the part that interests us is it puts solar systems on low-income housing, homeless shelters, and schools, specifically Title I schools. So how this started, it started on December 23rd, about 2 hours before I was leaving for Christmas vacation, I got a call from NV Energy that said, Andy Dumont had called me and said, how would you guys like a 250 kilowatt solar system that we would design, build, install, and put it at your school? You would own it, operate it, and get all the energy savings, and we would do that for free. And I said, well, okay, what's the catch? We need space for that, right? So he said he talked about specifically a couple schools where we didn't have the space, but we do have the space at Mark Twain Elementary School. So I went home for Christmas, came back a couple days later, and went up to Mr. Stokes' office and discussed with him what the possibilities would be here, and that if we accepted at this point the offer, there was no commitment in the future, but we would go down that road. And he said, go for it. So I reviewed the sites and found that Mark Twain was going to be the best site for that because of the space, and actually one of the more expensive schools to run. Uploaded the acceptance form, public work attestation, utility bills. First I found the utility bills because nobody was in my office. I was the only one there. I had to try to figure out how to upload these all to their system, and along with the third-party ownership and the application. And had it all done, and on the 30th, the application was reviewed, accepted by NV Energy, and on the 31st, we received a notice that we did get a reservation, which was good because it was due by the 1st. So they did all this paperwork and got it done on the 1st. So we had several meetings as the spring went along with NV Energy, just talking about the process, the protocol, how we were going to go down the road. We signed a proof of progress with them, and everything was still pending on the Nevada Public Utility Commission's approval of NV Energy's annual plan, which we were part of, and that was going to happen in June. We were part of it, as well as 3 other districts in the north. So on April 4th, we received from the PUC a staff docket data request where they were asking information from us. That happened to be my birthday and the first day of spring break. So I was on a plane going to the Caribbean at the time. And I tried to file an extension from Miami on my phone, and it didn't work. But luckily I got back in time, and when I returned, Mr. Fueling and I kind of crafted a response to docket 14-02004. And they wanted, that docket, in short, said, could we assign the benefits at Mark Twain Elementary to Mark Twain Elementary instead of that benefit being rolled up in the district's general fund or budget? So they wanted the savings from solar to go right back into the school in some way. And they were asking us what we thought about that. Well, we talked it over, and in Mr. Fueling's fashion, I know he's interested in anything that saves us money and also is more efficient for the school district. So, of course, we were saying anything you want to do to give us free systems, sure, we'll do what it takes to make that happen. And we came up with some ideas about installing energy use dashboards at the school so we could use it as a teaching tool for the kids and put it on the website so that the kids could understand, carbon footprint and how many trees we're saving and the energy we're saving. Purchase elementary appropriate curriculum and supplies so that we could kind of slide some of the sustainability aspects to this into early curriculum needs. Taking district elementary students to other solar fields and giving tours of them and talking about it. Expanding our sustainability action team and providing equipment and protocol for students to run student-run audits, energy audits. I mean, students can actually do audits in their own schools and give us ideas how we can improve things. So that was our plan at that time. And we received a draft letter agreement in June, on June 10th, that was a kind of a framework or a report that they were going to take to the PUC. NV Energy was going to take to the PUC and say, this is what our plan was with this school district. And they did this with all 4 school districts. And so we sent that over to Mr. Pavlakis. He reviewed it and edited it. And we signed a letter on June 20th saying that we wanted to go forward, although with still no full commitment. But the reservation had now changed from 250 kilowatts to 125 kilowatts. So they took the program and lowered it from a 2 megawatt across the state to 1 megawatt. Still, free system, so we're looking at that, saying, okay, well, it's going to be a smaller system. It'll fit into our footprint probably a little bit better. And we were going to have to maintain the system now. So they're going to turn it over right away. And so some of that savings we could put toward maintaining the system rather than them doing that. They were going to do it for 2 years and turn it over. So on June 30th, NV Energy's annual plan was accepted by the PUC. So now we're going down the road to discuss things with NV Energy. On July 21st, we had an action plan meeting. Mr. Stokes, Mr. Fueling, and myself were there with John Hargrove, who's a senior program manager at NV Energy, Andy Dumont, that you met a few months ago that was here, that's a consultant, and of course Charlene Booth, who's our account executive. And we talked about what our next steps were, what the history of this whole program is, and what the timeline, et cetera, would be. So that was just a month and a half ago. On August 15th, we received the draft agreement, which was reviewed by myself, Mr. Fueling, and Mr. Russell in Mr. Pavlakis' office. Mr. Russell returned a revised copy to us, which we send to NV Energy, and it's now being reviewed by their council, and it's there. There's very minimal changes in it, and it looks very collaborative in what we want to do. Mr. Hargrove is on vacation this week, so he had passed on to me a list of several items he wanted documented at the school. So I've begun to do that, and I have a couple weeks to do that, taking pictures of switchgear and locations and locating electric and getting drawings and those kind of things ready for him. And on the 10th of September, we're going to meet at the site, walk the site together with our team and their team, and start seeing how we can put this project together. So our next steps really are to develop a scope of work with them, in conjunction with them. They're going to put out an RFP for, I say they, NV Energy, for a design-build project on this. We'll have to see if we need to get a special use permit or have neighborhood meetings on the project going forward. And then we need to discuss the savings and distribution with Mr. Fueling and the site administrator. We had talked about keeping about 20% of that back for maintenance on the system and cleaning of the panels, but the rest of it could go toward, geez, I think just about everything was on the table for that school. Some of the ideas we had, but Mr. Stokes came up with some other ideas, and so did Mr. Fueling. So we have to develop that, what they're going to use the money for each year. It's about a 2 to 3 week construction time. Shouldn't take very long at all. The system's about twice as big as Fritch, if you guys seen that, and it'll probably be a ground-mounted system. Construction management support has been requested of me by NV Energy, and I'm glad to do that. And the project should be completed by January 1st. There was initially a requirement of that. There isn't that requirement now, but I'm sure we'll be done before that. And then final thing is annual reporting to the PUC. They want to see a report from us, probably with you guys signing off on it, that we're doing what we're saying we're doing with the money. Did that cover it? I think that's about it. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions? Steve? Joe?
Mark, I'm just curious, based on our experience with the systems we have in place, do you have an approximation of what dollar amount, what kind of savings we're looking at for?
Yeah,
Mark?
when we discussed it with them, approximately $15,000 to $20,000 savings on that. As you probably know, we do have some projects we're trying to get forward with new boilers at that school, and next year new heat pumps, which are that system alone. Heat pumps are about 40% more efficient than the ones we have, and the boilers even way more than that. But as you shake that down, it's probably another 10% on top of that energy savings. I thought it was a little bit higher, and I might stand by that as I see utility rates going up, but so that's we spend close to $70,000 on electricity at that site. So if we're up to about 30, we're about 40% savings.
Just
But
remember
I'm
that,
kind of more
that
excited about
20,000, yeah, is not going back into the budget, though.
No, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going into somebody's.
It's going to somebody's. Candace?
You said probably it'd be a ground-mounted system. Do you have any idea how many panels we're talking about? And then the other thing is, you said possibly special use permit. Are you thinking that the city would require a special use permit for this?
Generally, they do. But when I talked to Lee Plemmel before he left the planning position, he's still in city government, but he's not as the planner. Yeah, he moved up, and he said something about some of the newer systems, which BlackRock has been installing, are very low. So he indicated to me at that time that maybe you don't need to do that. But obviously, we would want to reach out to our neighbors anyway and talk to them about what we're doing there. But if we can keep it lower than the fence line and it doesn't obstruct any of their view, then that's the perfect world. And I think we can get there with that.
Steve?
Mark, with the arrays that we have now, we've had them for a couple of years now. We seen any out of the ordinary replacement or maintenance costs that weren't projected?
Not anything out of the ordinary. I mean, originally we had some vandalism to start. That's tapered way off. I haven't seen any this year. It's interesting because we've kind of been running some reports. There's a computer on board on those inverters, and we can download data onto a laptop and kind of look at what it's been doing over time. And we wondered about cleaning them, what it was going to be. But it always seems like we got this perfect rain, or we got a nice snow that would clean them off. And we haven't seen that much degradation in the panels or the power quality, maybe 4%, 5% at times. So when we get to a period where we need to clean them, and it looks like the birds have been hanging out there quite a bit, then we clean them, and we just go forward with it rather than waiting on Mother Nature. But this summer's been a cleaning for us, so we've been lucky. It is time to change some filters in the inverters, but they're not that expensive. We had some power quality issues to start with, but we addressed that with the power company, and that had to do with some things that they were doing as well. So I think we're really dialing it in now.
Where exactly are they going to be located at Mark Twain?
At this point, we're thinking at the northeast corner, just east of Mod B, would it be? There's an area there where there used to be a little softball field that does not have sprinklers in it, so it's a weed field at this point. So it kind of killed two birds for us there.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Going on to number 9, informational update on the Nevada School Wellness Policy based on recommendations of the Nevada School Wellness Committee established by the Nevada Department of Agriculture for discussion only. Mrs. Story. I sit on the Nutrition Wellness Committee here at the schools for the board, and I'd like to thank Mrs. Story and the rest of you for coming, because there's a lot of stuff going on and we don't hear about it, and she has been pretty monumental in giving Carson City a voice on a state level. So thank you for all of that. So I'll let you go with that.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. My name is Sheila Story. I'm the chief nurse for the district and the school nurse at Carson High. I'm also the Nevada State Association School Nurses President. So the Department of Agriculture notified me last fall and asked me to be on a committee that was going to review the current school wellness policy. So I accepted their invitation along with 27 other professionals around the state of Nevada, which included UNLV, UNR, the Food Bank, the Dairy Council, PTA, several different state agencies, registered dietitians, just an array of individuals that really helped review this wellness policy and put something together for you guys. So I first like to welcome a couple guests from the Department of Agriculture. The first one is Donnell Barton. She is the administrator for the Department of Agriculture, Food, Nutrition, and also Cindy Ransden, who is also with the Food and Nutrition Division. I have a presentation, 5 slides for you tonight. I can't take credit for it. Cindy put this together, but I'm presenting it to you. All right, so I'd like to go on. Oh, sorry. I've never done this. Which button? I had to push a button. Okay. So as you guys know, success in school is more than just academics. It also has to do with the nutrition we take in and also the physical activity, which, as we know, does increase academic success. Physical activity and academic achievement. You know, physical activity plays a large portion of students' academic success. It decreases their behaviors in school. It increases their standardized test scores. It helps them focus and concentrate within the classroom. It does several things. It also increases the high school graduation rate. So this is why we're really looking at physical education and nutrition together in increasing academic achievement. The school wellness policy, we looked at the whole thing. And what we looked at, and these are the things that we have changed within the federal standards, okay? So we have the federal standards in which we are following. These are the ones that the committee that was formulated also implemented. Adequate time for consuming meals. What this means is that each child will be given up to 15 minutes to finish a breakfast and up to 20 minutes to finish lunch. That doesn't mean they have to sit there for 15 and 20 minutes, but they're given the opportunity and that time to eat their meal. The next thing is greater or equal to 30 minutes of physical activity per day, and that is all the way from kindergarten all the way through high school. And a couple things here, they want the children to have an opportunity to exercise for an increment of 10 minutes or a minimum of 10 minutes, equaling 30 minutes a day, and they no longer want to take that passing time between periods at Carson High or the middle school as part of that 30-minute activity. Okay, and this means we have to give them the opportunity to do physical activity. It doesn't mean we have to force them to run and do activities, but we have to give them that opportunity to participate in physical activities. Non-carbonated beverages only. What this means is water. Water will always be served at all 3 different levels, elementary, middle, and high school, along with milk and juice. We chose not to do any carbonated drinks, even though on the federal level they are now, they're kind of bringing them back in, like the diet sodas, but we chose as a group not to do that. And the next thing is Smart Snack Nutrition Standards. Basically what Smart Snacks are, it's a list of nutritional foods that can be sold at school during school hours or given to people during school hours. And we have a huge list that we're encouraging people to utilize. So then if a student at Carson High goes to the student store and purchases something, it will then meet those standards of nutrition. Let's see here, what's next? The next step is the Nevada Department of Agriculture to help implement these changes that the school wellness policy is bringing forth. They're going to be implementing informational handouts with to help answer frequently asked questions. The school wellness policy will be implementing a manual. They'll have webinars, training, and technical assistance. All of these are currently being developed and will be available to our school district along with the rest of the school districts within the state of Nevada to help implement this reviewed and revised school wellness policy. Are there any questions?
Lynette?
Geez. So my question is, what about after-school activities and like the snack shacks? Are they supposed to offer healthy snacks, or can they get away with selling sodas and nachos and all the things that make money?
I'm going to go ahead and defer those questions to Darnell and Cindy. They can probably answer them much better than I can.
Sure. So any snack shacks that are running during the school day?
Not to interrupt, but can we just have your name for the
I'm
record?
sorry. Cindy Rainsden, Nevada Department of Agriculture. Any snacks sold during the school day, if the snack shack's open at all, from the midnight before school starts to 30 minutes after the school day, they must meet the Smart Snack standards. If it's after 30 minutes on weekends, when school's not in session, that's okay. You can sell whatever you'd like.
Laurel?
I just have a question because I have elementary kids, and birthday treats are frequently brought in elementary school. Does this apply to that, or is that going to be, parents going, what do we bring for birthday celebrations now?
At the state level, we've left that up to the districts to decide. We've asked the districts give us the frequency that these special occasions and holiday celebrations will occur. We did give a list of, I think, 8 to 10 recommended holidays that you would allow, like a party or celebration. We do have a couple of best practices for that as well. Some districts allow only one birthday celebration a month. So say the first day of every month you celebrate everybody's birthday during that month, and parents can send in whatever they'd like, cupcakes or, a fruit bowl or whatever for their child's celebration for that month. So that would limit the amount that's given.
But it's still up to the districts to decide?
Yes.
Okay.
And how's our district decided?
So in the policy, it does state that each district has to have a wellness committee, okay? We do have a wellness committee here in Carson City. It's made up of several different individuals from different schools and such, and also our nutrition services department. And that's something that we'll be bringing up at our wellness policy meeting. This new revised policy we'll be bringing up, and we'll be bringing you more information.
Thank you. Steve?
Sheila, this opportunity for exercise or whatever that we're thinking about, currently, are we saying that the break periods at the high school are not that opportunity? Did I misunderstand you?
So at the high school, what you have is nutrition break, which gives the students 10 minutes from their first period to their second period. And within that 10 minutes, they have to go from one classroom to the other classroom. But then if they want to get a snack, they can go ahead and get a nutritious snack. And then they have lunch period, which is about 30 minutes long, and that's when they can eat lunch and then go on to their next period. Basically, they were stating that passing time, it doesn't really constitute physical activity. It is walking, yes it is, but it's not, it's just not the best choice. We just have to provide other alternative physical activities for these students to partake in, and give them, I guess, just a better array of exercises and physical activity.
I don't have I'm not proposing anything, but it would seem to me that if that was on our, desires, and we were going to do that, then we're talking about potentially exploring another schedule adjustment.
There are other options out there. Oh, go ahead. Not necessarily, because some of the teachers at the wellness were telling us, like, when they're getting ready for testing and stuff, they do jumping jacks for 5 minutes, or they make them move around the room so that they get the blood flowing. So, it's not like you have to have a square of 10 minutes and it has to be the PE teacher or something, too.
Yes, and time before school and after school would count as well. If you, at the elementary level, if you open, say, the playground 15 minutes before and it's available 15 minutes after school, you'd have your 30-minute opportunity. At the middle and high school level, if you offer any intramural sports or anything like that, that would count towards the time as well. So we're not asking necessarily you have to have PE classes for every student, but just the opportunity to participate. If you have anything at lunch available, they can play basketball or jump ropes or whatever, that would count towards it as well.
Joe?
Thank you. So just to clarify then, at the high school level with all the sports we offer and activities, everything from the cheerleading to wrestling, football, that then contributes to that, you know, we meet that requirement essentially?
For those students.
For those students, but we
students.
offer it. So, okay.
Yeah, but you've got, 2,200 students and a facility that does not lend itself well for, physical exercise for a majority of those 2,200. I mean, it's just I'm not saying we need to change the world this afternoon or this evening, but, I kind of wonder what kind of opportunity we're really providing.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up, because it is going to be something that we're going to have to look at when they bring up the policy.
Right.
Yeah, because it's not the students that are involved in sports and cheerleading or whatever. It's the students that aren't involved in anything that gets them active. And so how do we reach those kids, whether they're in drama, are they doing some kind of, drama exercises? I know marching band, they certainly get a workout. I've watched them practice. But I guess my concern is reaching those kids that really need it versus the kids that are already athletic. My daughter is in PE, and at least those kids have chosen to be in PE, but they have never been in PE before, and they're really struggling. And so how can we get kids on board? I don't know.
Yeah. I know at Carson High School, we're exploring a little pilot study where we've asked each department head to take on certain little physical activities during that time frame that their classes, and they pull a little sticker that says, okay, go ahead and do this exercise with your class. So basically what it is you sit in class for 45 minutes, then you take a physical education break, and the teacher then leads the students in this little physical education break. That's simple to do. You don't have to leave the classroom for, just around the desk, that type of thing, just to re-stimulate them, get them up, get them moving, and then get them back sitting down and back to studying. So we're going to be starting that. We haven't yet put the whole thing together. Aaron Bean at the high school is helping us with that. So that might be one example of what we can do without increasing the school day numbers or minutes. But we're going to try it, and we'll let you know how that goes.
Any other questions? Thank you again, Mrs. Story. I know it's a busy week with school starting and everything, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 11, discussion and possible action of ratifying and approving the following items upon the action was taken by the Board of Trustees on the meeting dates shown below. Mr. Stokes or Mr. Pavlakis? All right, Mr. P, come on up.
Thank you, President Wilkie. Members of the board, I apologize that we are in this position. In the 2013 session of the legislature, a law was passed that required public bodies, including the school district, beginning January of this year, to post their agendas on the state website, assuming that the state website was operational. I attended a seminar put on by the Attorney General on this topic, and it was my understanding that the website was going to be available for those agencies that did not have their own website upon which they posted. And in fact, the way that the legislation came out, all bodies, including school districts who maintain their own website, are required to post to the state website. Unfortunately, the state website was not operational until March. The there was a recent meeting of the state superintendents at which Mr. Stokes learned that the state website was operational, and there were a number of "oh my gosh" comments that were made at that state superintendent's meeting. Mr. Stokes contacted me. I contacted George Taylor, the Deputy Attorney General, who indicated that he had received a number of calls from attorneys like me, and that what they were doing and what he supported was taking this, quote, corrective action by essentially asking the board to re-agendize and reapprove all of the items that we have taken. His recommendation was actually that we go back to March, since that's when the state website became operational. Out of an abundance of caution, working with Renee, who was very helpful in agendizing this matter, we've managed to put all of your action items on tonight's agenda, and we're asking you for approval to reapprove all of the action items that you've taken this year to date.
Candace?
Many public bodies, like the school district, will post their agenda several days in advance. My question is, and maybe we do this already, but I've never noticed it, can we not start putting the supporting material up on our web page as well as the state's web page? Because like planning commissions, board of supervisors, that backup material is usually up the same day, and it's required here that the board of supervisors or whenever that governing body's getting that backup material. And I've never noticed if we're doing that, and if we're not, I would ask if we could do that so that the backup material, the same day that we get it, which is the Friday before, that backup material is up on our webpage as well as the state's webpage. Not the presentations, but any supporting material that we get in our packet is also up on the webpage.
That is on a going forward basis, beginning with tonight's meeting. Oh. And so Renee tells me that we have been doing that on our website, but beginning with tonight's meeting, I believe that we've also posted on the state website not only the agenda, which is all that's required under the statute, but the backup material as well has been posted for tonight's meeting and will be posted going forward.
But just to clarify again, I mean not the presentations, but the backup material will be posted in advance of the actual meeting.
On
Great.
the Friday before.
Thank you.
So if I didn't agree with something we did a few months ago, now's the time to get back to it or something.
Yes, Steve.
This would be your chance.
Mr. Stokes?
We don't have to go into closed session to discuss any of this stuff.
No, I will not allow that.
Madam President, members of the board, if I could just add a little insight on this as well. Obviously, the legislators are very anxious that public bodies be as transparent as possible. And one of the reasons for going back to January to take another look at this information is to offer any members of the public who, for some reason or another, didn't attend at the time these items were presented, but as a result of this electronic version now going forward, they could come forward and have an opportunity to raise a question or to discuss or to provide public input on any of these items going back to our January 14th, 2014 meeting. So I think it is a very cautious step, but it's the right step. It's one that seems to be prevalent throughout the state of Nevada for those who are like us and have joined the party at this time. And so, I don't see a lot of people here to speak on these, but that was the intent. And so from this time forward, having the multiple opportunities for people to know what's going to happen at our meetings, both where we post our meetings in town, we post them electronically and at our site. This just offers one more opportunity for the public to be aware of what we're talking about.
Any other questions? Lynette?
I guess this is a question for Renee. is this more work? I mean, I love that we're transparent, but it's not. Okay, thank you.
Trustee Conrad, I would say that obviously Renee does a yeoman's work, and anything that's extra like this is extra. But she does great work and really works hard to make sure that we are primo as it comes to our public notice.
Joe?
So Mike, just to be clear, by our putting forth this corrective action, we now satisfy our obligation with the state, and we haven't opened ourselves up to any liability or anything as a result of this. This kind of gets us current, or what kind of, what did this do to us, I guess?
This action does all we can do to correct the error. And it was an error to not have posted on this website. But by doing this, we have done all we can do. We can't go back in time and recreate history. It does operate prospectively, but at least if somebody did want to make an objection, it at least starts the time for the period to make an objection.
I just want to thank Candace, because you wanted, back in February, I think it was, you wanted a summary of motions. And we got that. And it was so easy to go through, starting with that point, and check off stuff so that we know that was nothing. And that was great foresight, and we do appreciate that. It made it a little bit easier. Yeah, see? And you're leaving. Anyway, yeah, we can go ahead with a motion. Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
Thank you.
Seeing none, we'll take a motion.
I move that the Carson City School Board of Trustees approve, ratify, and confirm the approval of the action items listed on the agendas from January 14, 2014 through August 12, 2014 as presented.
Second.
Second by Laurel. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, too, for getting us out of trouble. Appreciate it. Moving on to number 12, approval of the consent agenda for possible action.
I move that the Carson City School Board of Trustees approve consent agenda items A, B, D, F, G, H, J, and K as submitted.
Second.
Second by Candace. Any public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to number 13, request for future agenda topics. Laurel?
I'm not sure if this is actually an agenda item, but it's just something that I'm interested in, wondering if the rest of the board is interested in. The American Academy of Pediatrics has recently posted a recommendation that middle schools and high schools have later start times. They recommend after 8:30. And I don't know if that's something that we're interested in looking at. We are a smaller district where it may be feasible to do that, but if there's establishing a committee, looking into the research, having some open meetings, what type of things. Obviously, this year is already running, but if that's something that the board is interested in looking into, I submit it for consideration.
I know it's a hot topic right now. It might be something that the Strategic Plan Wellness Committee looks at and decides if we should move forward, if that fits in our strategic plan. I think if, instead of discussing it at a board level yet.
In the strategic plan under goal number 3, there is a specific request to study different schedules. And I've contacted a group of individuals who have agreed to sit as members of a committee to actually research and study and to make some statements, whether or not it actually is an immediate agenda item or action item. We definitely will bring those findings back to this body.
I just think it's
Maybe,
I just think it's something to look into and consider.
maybe school could go till 5, we can start it later. But seriously, pick them up after work.
It would be a lot easier. I would have loved to not have to get my teen out of bed at 6 o'clock, believe me. Candace?
and I apologize because I will keep beating this to death, but if we can get an update in September, if possible, about the communications marketing plan, so that maybe by Thanksgiving, we can have something up on our webpage as well as the Carson City webpage. Even if it's preliminary, just to get something up on our web pages would really be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Anyone else?
Well,
Ron?
Madam President, we're talking about a workshop, and maybe you could bring that up?
Do you want to talk about that?
We have set a potential workshop for the early evening of September the 11th. So starting at 5:15 at the boardroom at the district office, we are planning to have a discussion about the star ranking system, and that would give an opportunity for us to talk about our current status and to also talk about the different aspects that make up those star rankings. The 15th of September is the official notice date from the Department of Education, and in preparation for that release of information to the public, we wanted the board to know as much about the process as we could share. And so we are planning to have that meeting ready to go, and we would invite members of the trustees and the public to come to that workshop. So it would be a free-flowing type of interaction, which we would ask Mrs. Kima and Dr. Medina to help us understand the different aspect of the star ranking system.
5:15 at the King Street office, and as usual, when we have at 5:15, Renee will bring pizza. So it's always something to keep in mind.
Way to go, Renee.
And I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't know you had that room for your meeting. Any other future agenda items? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.